Alright guys, this video is going to be order of operations part 2. The difference between the first video and the second video is that this one's going to have integers, which are positive and negative whole numbers. So let's go ahead and begin so I don't take up too much of your time. I'm going to write GEMDAS, connect multiplication and division, addition or subtraction, whichever you see first. Alright, so according to GEMDAS, I need to do groups, and I have a group here. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did in my first video. I'm going to circle and focus. Right now, nothing else exists except what's in my group, which in this case is 39 minus 3. And 39 minus 3 is 36. So I brought it down in the same order. I'm going to pull everything down, the minus the 5 squared or 5 to the second power. Okay, I did that step. As you can see, my eyes are now here in this part of the problem. So I'm going to go to my GEMDAS. This problem no longer has grouping, so I'm going to get rid of G. The next step is exponents. And in this problem, I do have exponents. So I'm going to circle and focus. The only thing I'm circling is the exponents. In this case, guys, remember I like to talk about possible mistakes. There's a chance that a student may accidentally try to do it in their head, and they'll say 5 times 2. But you know you should always show your work. So in this case, 5 squared means 5 times 5. And 5 times 5 is 25. So now I'm going to pull everything down in the same order, the minus, the 6, the division, and the 36. All right, guys. Now, my eyes are in this problem. So don't focus on what we did. I'm already done with that. Okay, I'm going to go to my GEMDAS. The problem written in green does not have exponents. I'm done with exponents. The next step, say it correctly, is multiplication or division, whichever you see first. In this case, I see division, so I'm going to circle and focus. All I care about right now is 36 divided by 6. Which is pretty easy, is 6. Now here's where I'm going to really need your attention. I'm going to bring down the minus and the 25. As you can see, guys, I've pretty much done every step. All I have left is 6 minus 25. However, I'm going to stop real quick and discuss another possible mistake. In your head, there's a big chance that some students are going to try to do what you've done since you were in elementary, where the bigger number comes first, and in your head, maybe you're thinking 25 minus 6. That is a big problem, guys, because in this case, it's 6 take away 25. Now, at this point in time, you should have already learned how to subtract integers. Okay, and you should know that in the real world, I can have $6 and take away 25. However, because I don't have enough, I'm going to have a negative number. So as the rules are, when I'm subtracting integers, I can always add the opposite. So 6 minus 25, I'm going to add the opposite of 25. What's opposite of positive 25? Negative 25. So now my problem that used to look like 6 minus 25 now says 6 plus negative 25. Being that I added a line and changed the sign, it allows me to use the scoreboard. And as you can see the scoreboard, I can use it when I'm adding integers, as I'm doing here. So my two teams are negative versus positive. The 6 belongs in the positive team. The 25 belongs in the negative team. So let's figure that out. Looking at it as a scoreboard, which team scored the most points? The negative team scored the most points. So I'm going to go ahead and put that negative sign there because that teacher, she gets upset if I don't put the positive or negative. All right, so I know the negative team won. Now the next question I'm going to ask is by how many points? So I'm going to do 25 minus 6. I'm going to borrow. 15 minus 6 is 9. 1 minus 0 is 1. Be careful here because some of you may be thinking, Miss B, that's what I wanted to do, 25 minus 6. But think about it, guys. 25 minus 6 is 19. Now that we use the scoreboard, we know my answer is going to be negative, and it's going to be negative 19. So that's one problem. Let's move on to the next one. This problem says 2 times 2 minus 4 to the second power plus 10 divided by 2. All right, so being that I have more than one operation, I'm going to go ahead and write GEMDAS. Don't forget to connect the M and the D, the A and the S. All right, so now let's look at GEMDAS. The first thing I got to do is groups. Do I have a group? Yes, I do, and it is right here. Circle and focus. Nothing else exists except 2 times 2 minus 4 squared. That is all you need to be looking at. Do not worry about the plus, the 10, the divided, or the 2, because that's not in my group. So let's first solve the group. If you look at your group, I have a couple of things going on. I have multiplication, subtraction, and an exponent. So let's look at GEMDAS right here. I'm going to repeat, multiplication, subtraction, and exponents. According to my group, exponent comes first. So I'm going to worry about that first. I'm going to circle and focus. Remember, guys, do not be lazy. Always show your work. 4 to the second power does not mean 4 times 2. But if I show my work, it means 4 times 4, which is 16. I'm going to bring down the minus, the 2, the times, and the 2. I'm going to repeat again, guys. Do not bring down the plus, the 10, the divided, or the 2, because at this point, I need to circle and focus, and only focus on what I circled. Do not move to the next step until you've solved everything in your circle. All right, let's go back to GEMDAS. I now have multiplication and subtraction. Multiplication and subtraction. According to that, I'm going to multiply first. 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down the minus and the 16. And now, of course, I'm going to subtract. But again, guys, just like the first problem, you really got to stop and think about what's happening. You have $4, and I'm going to take away 16. If I want to take away 16 and you only have 4, can I take away all $16? No, that means you're going to still owe me money. So, as you've seen in the previous videos and as we've done it in class, we can always add the opposite of 16, which is negative 16. So now it looks like 4 plus negative 16. Because I'm adding, guys, I'm adding integers, I can use the scoreboard. My two math teams are negative versus positive. 4 is positive, 16 is now negative. So let's ask the two questions we always ask. Question number 1, which team scored the most points? The negative team. So I'm going to write the negative right now. The second question is, by how many points did they win? So I'm going to do 16 minus 4, which is 12. And because I already have my negative sign, my answer is negative 12. Now that I did everything in my circle, now I can bring down the plus, which is down here, the 10, the divided, and the 2. I'm going to bring that down. All right, now let's focus here. If you look at this, I don't have any more groups. Do I have exponents? No. What's next? Multiplication or division, whichever you see first. In this case, I see division, so I'm going to circle and focus. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm going to bring down the plus and the negative 12. And of course, if I'm now on this problem here, I don't have multiplication or division. The next step is addition or subtraction. In this case, I'm going to add. And again, pay attention to your numbers. You have negative 12 plus 5. Because you are adding, you can use the scoreboard because you're adding integers. And I'm going to use the scoreboard here. Negative versus positive. The 12 is negative. The 5 is positive. All right, same two questions. Question number 1, which team scored the most points? The negative. So I'm going to go ahead and add the negative sign. The second question is by how many points? 12 minus 5, that's 7. So my answer is -7. All right, another way, being that we're talking about negatives, is I can say I owe $12 and I have 5. So if I owe little Jojo $12 and all I have is 5, I can give him the $5, but in the end, I will still owe little Jojo $7. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. Let's move on to a few more. All right, so this is -3 to the second power, or -3 squared, plus -3 times 2 divided by 2. Being that I have more than one operation, I'm going to write GEMDAS. Okay, again, don't forget to connect. Okay, so here we go. Now guys, this one, I'm gonna remind you again that this video is over order of operations with integers. So I really gotta I gotta be a little slower on this because I gotta start thinking about the numbers that I have. And I have to apply the rules that I learned on integers. So let's go ahead and start. G, groups. I do have groups, which is here, circle and focus. Now here I have -3 times +2. And if you remember the faces, when I have a negative with a positive, it's going to have a negative relationship. So my answer is -6. I'm going to bring down the division, the 2, the plus, the negative, the 3 to the second power. Now guys, notice that I'm going to put parentheses right here, because if I don't put the parentheses, it's going to look like -3 to the second power plus -6. But being that I put a parentheses, that's just separating the fact that it's not plus minus, it means plus -6. All right, so moving on. Let's focus here. I don't have any more groups. The next step is E, exponent. I'm going to circle and focus. Again, guys, here comes the rules. That means -3 times -3. All right. And again, going back to my faces, when I have a negative number with a negative number, it's going to be a positive relationship. So -3 times -3 is +9. Let's scratch that. I'm going to bring down the plus, the -6, the division, and the 2. All right, guys, now my focus is here. I don't have any more exponents. The next step is multiplication or division, whichever you see first. I see division, so I'm going to circle and focus. And this says -6 divided by +2. This is the face I'm going to use. I have a negative and a positive, so that means it's going to have a negative relationship. So that's -3. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the plus and the 9. The same thing, guys. I hope I'm not going too fast. I'm going to go ahead and put a parenthesis around the -3, because if not, it looks like 9 plus -3. But when I put the parentheses, it lets me know it's 9 plus -3. Now you can look at it in two different ways. I'm going to go ahead and use the scoreboard because I'm adding integers. And I can always use the scoreboard when I'm adding integers. My two teams are negative and positive. The 9 is positive, the 3 is negative. Which team scored the most points here? The positive team. So I'm going to go ahead and put that positive sign. My next question is, by how many points did they beat them? 9 minus 3 is 6, so my answer is +6. Another way you can look at it is about money. Looking at it as money, I have $9 and I owe $3. So if I have $9 and I owe you 3, I can pay you back and I'll still have, that's why it's positive, I'll still have $6. All right, I'm hoping this is helping you. We're going to try 2 more. All right, so this one's 15 plus 5 squared minus 75. This one looks pretty easy and it shouldn't take us too long. So I'm going to write GEMDAS, and I sound like a parrot, guys, in almost all my videos. All right, G, groups. I don't have any groups. E, exponents. I do have exponents right here. Do not get lazy. Circle and focus. That means 5 times 5, which is 25. I'm going to bring down the minus, the 75, the plus, and the 15. All right, my eyes are now focused here. I don't have any more exponents, multiplication or division, whichever you see first. I don't see either. The next step is addition or subtraction, whichever you see first. Well, in this case, I have addition first. Remember, we read from left to right. So I'm going to show my work on the side. 15 plus 25, that's 40. I'm done with that. I'm going to bring down the minus and the 75. All right, again, guys, I'm going to stop you, and we got to really think about our numbers. Do not rush to conclusions and think backwards. Something you could probably think in your head is 70 minus 40. That is not what the problem says. The problem says 40, take away 75. So let's think of money. You have $40 and I'm going to take away 75. You don't have enough for me to take. So your answer is going to be negative. So when I'm subtracting integers, I can always add the opposite of 75, which is negative 75. Now that I'm adding integers, I can always use the scoreboard, negative versus positive. The 40 is positive, and the 75 is negative. All right, guys, which team scored the most points? The negative team scored the most points in this case. I'm going to go ahead and put my answer negative. And the second question is, by how many points? So 75 minus 40, that'll leave me with 35, but I'm ready, it's negative. So my answer is negative 35. Now let's talk about money. In this case, you have $40 and you owe 75 bucks. That means you can go ahead and pay $40, but right here, if you look at that 75 minus 40, you owed me 75. I'm going to take away the 40 that you already paid. That means you still owe me 35 bucks. Now, this next one that we're about to do, guys, is actually a little bit, it's not hard, it's just, it's a little bit longer. So let me go ahead and write that problem for you. It's going to be 10 plus 42 divided by 4 to the third power minus 57, parentheses, all of that divided by 8 minus 10, 10 minus 9. All right, so guys, please do not be afraid of this. I need to expose you to any kind of possible way that you're going to see order of operations. I'm going to go ahead and write GEMDAS here. All right, so, all right, just like a fraction, guys, and I know I've explained this in class, if I have 4 divided by 2, you already know what the numerator is. The numerator is 4 and the denominator is 2. So in this case, I would do 4 divided by 2, which is 2. All right, in the same manner, guys, I have this division. But first, I need to figure out what my numerator is, and then I need to figure out what my denominator is. Let's first start with the numerator. Okay, if you look at the numerator, I have G, groups. And the groups are right here, circle and focus. I'm going to repeat, guys. This is my numerator, this is my denominator. Right now, I'm not worried about the denominator. We're going to come to that later. Let's first figure out the value of my numerator. All right, so 4 to the third power minus 57. In my group, I have exponent, which you see here, and subtraction. According to this, I need to do the exponent first. So I'm going to show my work on the side. 4 times 4 times 4. That's 4. It's all about that base. 4 to the third power. 4 times 4 is 16. Scratch, scratch. I got to bring down that 4. 16 times 4 is 64. So that really says 64 minus 57. Okay, guys, I'm going to quickly erase this so I don't confuse you with too many numbers written all over my paper. I'm going to borrow and that's going to give me 7. So please look over here, guys. Okay, based on what I did in my groups, 64 minus 57 is 7. So I'm going to bring the problem down, bring the 7, the division, the 42, the plus, and the 10. Now I'm going to repeat, guys. I am not looking to find the denominator first. I first need the value of the numerator. All right, so let's figure this out. Based on this, I have division and addition. According to order of operations, I need to divide first. 42 divided by 7 is 6. Scratch. I'm going to bring down the plus and the 10. And then 10 plus 6 is 16. Okay, I hope I'm not confusing you guys, but right now I just found the value to the numerator. When I worked out everything on top, my answer was 16. Now I got to find my denominator. So I'm going to give myself some space, and I'm going to focus on the denominator. And, sorry, the denominator is right here. So I need to find the value of the denominator. All right, now there's a problem here. I have 8 minus 10 in parentheses and 10 minus 9. But what am I going to do with those numbers in the parentheses? I need to know that I'm going to multiply. If I don't see the sign, put it there. All right, so both of these have groups. So I need to do whichever I see first. 8 minus 10. Now guys, be careful. Don't let your brain think backward. You have $8 and I'm going to take away 10. You don't have enough for me to take away. So you're going to still owe me. So instead, what I'm going to do with 8 minus 10 is I'm going to add the opposite. The opposite of positive 10 is negative 10. I can use the scoreboard, negative versus positive. The 8 is positive. The 10 is negative. Which team scored the most points? The negative. So I'm going to put that there. Negative. By how many points? Well, 10 minus 8 is 2. That means it's negative 2. So if you look at the original problem right here, 8 minus 10 is negative 2. Now I'm going to scratch that. I'm going to bring down the times, the 10, the minus, and the 9. All right, so now let's figure out what 10 minus 9 is. 10 minus 9, that one's easy, is 1. Now I'm going to bring down the times and the negative 2. So negative 2 times 1. Well, let's bring back the rules, guys. I have my little face, have a negative with the positive number. What kind of relationship are they going to have? A negative relationship. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. All right, guys, I figured out what my denominator is, and that's a negative 2. Make sure that you take notes, ask questions when you get to class. I'll be more than happy to answer anything. I know this was a little bit complicated, a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that the steps are not confusing you. All right, so I can have extra space. I'm going to erase this right here, and I'm going to focus on trying to figure out my answer. Now I figured out what my numerator is and my denominator. If you look at it as a fraction, you should see it's 16 over negative 2. The denominator, negative 2, it's carrying a big number, so I'm going to divide. If I look at the problem as it is, 16 divided by negative 2, I'll be doing the same thing. 16 divided by negative 2. If I remember my integer rules, I have a positive with a negative, so my relationship is going to be negative. And 16 divided by 2, or negative 2, I'm sorry, is going to be negative 8. So that's my answer, negative 8. All right, guys, I'm hoping that this video taught you a little bit. Now I'm going to leave you with one question. I'm going to ask that you pause the video on this next question, try to figure it out on your own, and then see if you got it correct. Okay, so here's your challenge question. 5 minus 6 plus 3/4 times 8. I'm going to ask that you pause the video yourself, and then when you're ready, press play to check the answer. All right, according to GEMDAS, I need to do group first. Circle and focus. In my group, I have multiplication and addition. So here's multiplication and addition. Based on order of operations, multiplication goes first. So I'm going to focus here right now. That says 3/4 times 8. So I have a fraction and a whole number. So what I got to do to that whole number is make it look like a fraction by putting it over 1. So now I have 3/4 times 8 over 1, which is 3 times 8 is 24. 1 times 4 is 4. All right, so that's a good answer, 24 over 4, but it's improper. So I got to look at it as 24 divided by 4, which will give me 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write the answer to that, which is 6. I'm going to scratch. And remember, guys, I'm circling and focusing. Right now, the 5 and the minus does not exist. I need to finish everything in the circle. I got to bring down the plus and the 6. All right. 6 plus 6 is pretty easy. That is going to give me 12. I'm going to scratch. All right, guys, now that I did everything in my group, I'm going to pull down the minus and the 5. But, okay, make sure your eyes are here. That says 5 minus 12, or 5 take away 12. If I have $5 and you're going to take away 12 from me, I don't have enough. So I'm going to add the opposite of 12, which is negative 12. Now that I'm adding integers, I can use the scoreboard. And I'm going to show my work over here. Negative team versus positive team. The 5 is positive. The 12 is negative. Which team scored the most points? The negative team. I'm going to put that right there because I don't want to forget. And by how many points? Well, 12 minus 5 is 7. So that is my answer, negative 7. I hope you got it right. Make sure you ask any questions you may have tomorrow in class. Thanks.